Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's show. My name is Spencer Walsh. We really appreciate you being here. And you know what we're going to do today? We will be finding out what is on the radar. On the radar today, we were talking about the coronavirus, a payroll tax cut, the squad gets bigger. We're really pretty screwed no matter what happens with this. Two bad options and litmus tests. All that is coming on today's episode of Newsflash and so much more. My name is Spencer Walsh. Once again, thank you so much for joining us on this episode 322. So, we do have a lot of stuff to get to, but of course today, I do want to start by talking about the coronavirus. We're going to be live updates on what is going on here today. Right now, we are looking probably most intensely about these stimulus negotiations, right? We're trying to find out what is going on here, what is going to be the big problem, what are they fighting over, and really, the very disturbing, if I were it's a very, very scary, very precarious time. Everybody knows that, to be in this country right now. And it doesn't seem to be looking any better because you can tell by the title of this. Americans have been left out to dry by their own government. I mean, unemployment benefits have been allowed to expire. We're staring right down the barrel of a really eviction crisis, a economy that seems to be heading right back off the cliff that was going in March. Like, things are not going well at all. So top Democrats in the White House clashed anew on Thursday. New York Times reports here over an economic recovery plan, economic recovery package as a jobs report loomed over stalled negotiations on the plan, raising the stakes of the talks even as a compromise appeared to be nowhere in sight. After more than 3 hours in the Capitol Hill offices of Speaker Nancy Pelosi, negotiations emerged without an agreement and we're not able to come up with an agreement, and stark divisions remain. Pelosi of California described a consequential meeting where we could see the difference in values that we bring to the table. And again, you can have these differences in values, but now you really got to work them out. Let's try to get a sense of what the sticking point is here. He says we're still a considerable amount apart. He told reporters probably not what working Americans want to hear about this stuff right now. But again, I am not trying to suggest at all like, oh, just get a good deal done. It doesn't really matter the contents of the deal. Yes, it does. Obviously, of course, it matters the contents of the deal. The Labor Department will report Friday morning on how many jobs the economy created in July as America climbs back from the depths of the pandemic recession. Forecasters expect fewer new jobs than in May, when the nation recovery added 2.7 million jobs, or June, where it added 4.8 million. That's because the resurgence of the coronavirus has cooled growth in consumer spending and business activity for much of this summer. The economy remains down more than 10 million jobs from its pre-pandemic peak in February. If Friday's report shows a drastic slowdown in job creation, the pressure will rise on Trump and congressional leaders to cut a deal to provide additional aid for struggling small businesses, laid-off workers, and state and local governments that face shortfalls in tax revenue amid the crisis, because, again, you can't really tax zero income. New claims for unemployment benefits have exceeded 1 million a week for 20 straight weeks, the Labor Department reported on Thursday. A better-than-expected report on Friday could sway Trump, who has said repeatedly the economy will rapidly return to its pre-crisis state, against agreeing to Democrats' demands on issues like extending the now $600 federal supplement for unemployment workers. And it's so important, I think, that they really just don't give an inch on that, because it is, and it's really insane. I have to think that any Republican who wants to see Trump win and have a shot at the White House, which is like most Republicans who actually have a political sense of any kind, would be freaking out. And it'll be just because of the next story that we're about to talk to as well. But there's no desire for them to stimulate the economy in any way. What is the prevailing narrative? What do we see from people like Steve Mnuchin? Oh, we're worried about the Americans. We're worried about the inherent laziness of Americans, right? We are worried about the inherent laziness of Americans and their inability to get back to work. We don't trust them to get back to work, and we think that they are wanting to they're going to want to freeload off the government for as long as humanly possible. And we don't care about maybe getting them back on their feet. Like, just again, the rhetoric, the policy decisions here have been from any kind of, even political, forget just basic moral sense, just have really proceeded with no discernible thought, no discernible strategy. It's just been incompetence and cruelty from the jump, as it has always been for the past 4 years with this administration. So Trump escalated his own threat on Thursday to walk away from negotiations and act unilaterally instead. He told reporters he was considering issuing executive orders to forestall evictions. I mean, that's something you should do right away. Suspend the payroll tax collection, which he has done, and provide extra unemployment aid and student loan relief, perhaps as soon as Friday or Saturday. It's not clear that he has the legal authority for some of those moves, given that spending power, again, lies with Congress, especially with that tax thing. But a White House official said lawyers believe that Trump would be on solid ground to use money provided in the last stimulus measure, but not yet spent. Democrats rejected the idea, calling it illegal in his division. Congress has the power of the purse, and President Trump has no authority to deviate from the spending decisions of the House and Senate made in previous coronavirus relief bills, said Evan Hollander, spokesman for the Democrats on the House Appropriations Committee. Also on Thursday, a federal judge dismissed a lawsuit filed by Republicans against Pelosi that sought to block the House of Representatives from using a proxy voting system to allow for remote legislating during the pandemic, which is really kind of insane. Like, it's not really, it's like, literally they could just have a group chat with all 435 of them and then just send in their order. Like, it's like, it shouldn't be that hard. All you gotta do is just say yes or say no. Like and again, if, it's really just insane. So, the fact that Republicans are trying to stand in the way of this, that they dismissed the lawsuit filed by Republicans against Pelosi, that she was trying to make this House voting system a thing, but Republicans have sued to try to stop that. Luckily, that has been stopped. Judge Rudolph Contreras of Washington, D.C., District Court wrote in his opinion, the House unquestionably has the authority under the Constitution to determine the rules of its proceedings, and affirmed that legislative work undertaken by Pelosi and other top Democrats was immune from suit under the speech or debate clause of the Constitution. So, yeah, Ohio's governor, in other news here, tested positive about the virus, then negative, as he, just 2 days after he implored his residents to avoid large gatherings because of the risk of spreading coronavirus to family and friends. Governor Mike DeWine of Ohio tested positive for the virus while being screened to greet President Trump in Cleveland on Thursday, his office said, but a second test administered later in that day came up negative. So, DeWine, was a Republican who stood up for studious virus briefings and aggressive response, was tested as part of the standard protocol in order to greet Trump at the tarmac of Berg Lakefront Airport in Cleveland. Yeah, but luckily now he has been tested negative. Just quickly with the numbers, as far as they're concerned, there have been 53,726 new cases, 1,253 new deaths, which is a 26% increase over the past 14 days on the deaths front, and a 14% decrease in terms of trending down for cases. Where cases are rising the fastest, well, that will be Oklahoma, Missouri, Puerto Rico, Nebraska, Maryland, Illinois, Rhode Island, Hawaii, South Dakota, Massachusetts, and New Jersey. That is what we are watching for at the moment. Of course, that data there been provided by the New York Times. All right, we now turn to what our next story, which is going to be all about the payroll tax cut. An advocacy group representing more than 4 million American retirees warned that Thursday that the President Donald Trump took a dangerous step toward single-handedly dismantling Social Security by announcing he plans to sign an executive order suspending the collection of the payroll tax as early as Friday afternoon. Again, this is what we talk about. He hasn't officially signed this yet, but the point is he planned to sign it as early as Friday afternoon. With congressional negotiations over the next COVID-19 stimulus package still in an impasse, Trump told reporters on Thursday that executive orders to suspend the payroll tax, extend boosted unemployment benefits, and reestablish an expired eviction moratorium are being drawn out despite questions over whether the president has authority to unilaterally take some of these actions. So, I mean, again, even if you can just extend it to the current state, like for a week, I mean, I would take that over, like, just nothing. And then, of course, when a deal is made, and hopefully that's a better deal with the Democrats, at least try and secure some kind of humane protections for workers in this country. But Trump says he expects to sign the orders tomorrow afternoon or maybe the following morning if White House negotiators and Democrats don't reach a deal. Both Democrats and Republicans in Congress have rejected the idea of cutting the payroll tax, the primary funding mechanism for Social Security, which is, again, it's insane. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, it seems to be, even if you're caring about politics, if you only cared about politics, which, I mean, just a few days ago, we did the story, right? Kushner scrapped the testing program because he thought the virus would only affect blue states. Like, they clearly, politics is like their top priority here. Like, that is what is motivating them in this response. Politics. Like, it's been proven. Just if that reporting is true, like, I mean, that's an open shut kind of case on that. But I think even if they have politics, like, think about what they're doing here. They are actively trying to cut a way of collecting the Social Security tax while there is a disease going around that overwhelmingly affects older voters who also more likely are to vote for Trump. Like, again, it's proceeding without logic. What it is, again, I've heard some kind of at least populist-minded Republican, like semi-populist-minded Republicans say that. But, like, it just defies logic. It just absolutely defies logic. So, I don't know. Richard Fiesta, the executive director of the Alliance for Retired Americans, sent a statement that after learning that Democratic and Republican congressional leaders would not go along with his harebrained scheme to cut Social Security's dedicated funding source, President Trump lashed out and announced he would begin dismantling the system single-handedly. Seniors pay for their housing, food, and medicine with their Social Security, putting $1 trillion into our economy every year. Older Americans have earned their benefits through a lifetime of work. Their retirement security should not be put at risk because President Trump is mad at Congress for not bending to his will. The group's 4.4 million members vowed will fight this attempt to cut Social Security. Unfortunately, I don't really know how much they can do about that because, again, it's an executive order. Trump has this kind of executive power. If they can challenge that kind of thing in court, they definitely should because, like, this is something that is going to be a disastrous idea. They say this Alliance of Retired Americans says it is unconstitutional. Again, that's something that still has not been officially decided yet. But I think, like, if there is, I think at all, any way they can mitigate, the economic just crisis that's coming up here, whether it be through Social Security, extending unemployment benefits. Like, why would you want to cut programs that literally keep food on poor American tables, elderly American tables, in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of the economic downturn, everything like that? It is, I mean, in terms of all the moves you can make, just an absolutely nonsensical move here. We're going to talk about some electoral politics coming right up. All right, so for our next story, we're going to be talking about the squad. Guys, good news, the squad is getting bigger. Yes. As I'm sure you know, we covered it on the show and did a YouTube video about it. Cori Bush has won her primary. So, out of all the attacks on the squad over the past year and a half, probably the most vicious and salient one came from Nancy Pelosi. In June 2019, 4 freshman Democrats, AOC, Rashid Tlaib, And by the way, I didn't really talk about this, but Rashid Tlaib, she won her primary in a overwhelming margin last Tuesday night. And I was really reminded of a very interesting tweet, a very funny tweet, a very amusing tweet that kind of caught my ire from one of the kind of queens of the K-Hive. She's the K-Hive Queen Bee or something like that. Just a insanely devoted Kamala Harris stan. And she said that Tuesday afternoon, I believe, it was at 3:41 p.m. I was going to do like a short little video about that, but I decided not to. It was mentioned on the show. But we're here on Newsflash, so I'm going to mention it now.